Slump buster. Sometimes you just need one, and that's exactly what Iowa got. The Hawkeyes take down Nebraska and deliver the first signature victory of the Ben McCollum era. The energy's back, confidence is rising, and Hawkeye fans finally have something to cheer about. Let's break it down today. Locked on Hawkeyes.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast, your daily Iowa Hawkeye podcast, talking all things Hawkeyes here on the Locked On Network. I've been covering the Hawkeyes for over 20 years on the radio. You can hear me currently on the Iowa Sports Radio Network each weekday from noon to 2 as we talk the world of sports and lots of Hawkeyes with you. Stations all across the state of Iowa. We're in Sioux City, the Quad Cities, Iowa City, and Cedar Rapids, along with our flagship 106.3 KXNO. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today, it is a lot of Hawkeye talk as Iowa gets it done here. Rapid reaction after the Iowa win against Nebraska, 57-52. Not exactly a thing of beauty. We're going to talk big picture, what this means for Iowa. The turnaround coming up this weekend against Wisconsin, and with it, a little bit of extra time to prepare, something that was a difference compared to what we saw with this one with Nebraska. We'll take some big picture looks at this one. We're going to go inside the box score for this victory for the Hawkeyes, and of course, the keys to the win. Iowa in a physical, rugged game gets the victory 57-52 over the Huskers. This was a game that we talked about leading in, the importance of this one, just how important it was for Iowa to get a victory. After the two-game losing streak, the inexplicable loss that they had against Maryland, losing to a team in that fashion after you're coming in with the 6-game winning streak, and then what happened Saturday against Purdue, you finally have a full building, you finally have the crowd energized and ready to go, and you never deliver. There were so few moments in that game. Iowa was just dominated in all aspects against the Boilermakers. And though this is not going to be a game that is talked about because of a bunch of great plays on the offensive end, some big-time shots, though there were a few of those, this is just the kind of win that Iowa needed when you're not playing well. The biggest component, though, to this one, no doubt about it, was what we saw on the defensive end of the floor. And after this defense had been struggling in a big-time way, and we've gone through the numbers here on Locked On Hawkeyes here over the last couple of weeks, just the step back that this team has taken on that end of the floor and what we've seen out of them defensively. Coming in the month of February before tonight, Iowa was 242nd in the country in defensive efficiency after being 33rd in November, 14th in December, 18th in January, and then this monster step back that we saw recently. In a way, you look at that 6-game winning streak, and yes, you can only beat the teams that are on your schedule at the time. It wasn't a bunch of high-level victories, though they did get 2 quad 1 wins with the road win against Indiana, certainly the best of the bunch, along with that comeback victory against Washington late at night a couple of weeks back. Still, you look through there, this team was taking a step back defensively, and you have still concerns with this squad, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but just finding a way and doing it with the defense. This is a Nebraska team that's incredibly skilled, and we can make fun of the Huskers, and we will from time to time. Obviously, a program that has never won a single game ever in the NCAA tournament. They deserve some arrows, plus they're a rival. And when you play a rival, that's okay. You can do those kind of things and have a little bit of fun with it. But to get this kind of win, to do it with the defense that we saw out of this squad, just absolutely incredible effort from this team to do it on that end of the floor and do it consistently throughout. Iowa for the game, 17 of 51 from the floor. They shoot 33% from the floor, 6 of 23 behind the arc. But the big one, 17 of 18 from the free throw line, and they needed seemingly every single one of those free throws. Dominated on the glass, 18-5 at the half, rebound edge for the Hawkeyes. They finished plus 13 in rebounds for this one, a huge component to it. And I know a lot of people will look through and they'll look at the performance of Bennett Stirtz. And Stirtz had some good looks. He also had some sloppy turnovers. And though he was credited with 4 turnovers, boy, it just felt like all of them were a little bit lazy, a little lackadaisical maybe is a better term for it up front. Those turnovers at the top of the key getting the ball back and giving it away a couple of different times. For the game, Iowa finishes with 12 turnovers in the game, though just 3 of them in the second half. But what you have to say about Bennett Stirtz in a night where the shot wasn't falling at the same level, though that step back 3 to make it a 5-point game, boy, was that monstrous, that made it 50-45. In a night like that, you only have a couple assists from your point guard in the game, yet what he did, again, it goes back to the defense and what he did defensively, chasing Pryce Sandfort around, making it difficult on him throughout the course of this one. Sandfort finishes with 13, just 3 of 7 from the floor, knocked down 2 of 6 3-pointers. It was that defensive effort. And listening to Ben McCollum after the game, both in the radio interview with Gary Dolphin and Bobby Hansen afterwards, coupled with listening to the post-game press conference, you could definitely tell that Ben McCollum, there was that want. And that's what he wants from Bennett Stirtz. As he talked about, there are times that they yell each other. There's times that they disagree with the way that things are going. And it's still, in the end, he makes the big plays and did it with his defense. Speaking of defense, another guy, the only other guy in double figures in the game was Cooper Koch. Cooper Koch a multitude of different times. He was out there and he got switched up. And there were different times that he was guarding little Sammy Hoiberg. He got caught on a couple of switches, yet he held his own a couple of times inside, going up against Rink Mast. And, they ask a lot out of Cooper Koch on the defensive end. Still, that shooting, the 3-pointers that he hit, one at the beginning of both halves, ignited him, but there's other looks that he still needs to knock down and be more consistent. What you love about Cooper Koch, though, and what you need to see, I think, even more, don't be scared to make that big shot. Don't be scared to take that big shot. And that goes back to a couple of weeks ago when we talked about that. Is Cooper Koch offensively is probably the most skilled guy on this team, short of Bennett Stirtz. Stirtz obviously is on his own level and the own plateau that he has out there. But when you're talking about a complete skill set, he can put it on the deck a little bit. He can play with his back to his basket, and we know what a good shooter he can be. Cooper Koch has the full complement. They got to get more out of that. Tavion Banks finishes 1 of 5 from the floor. 6 points in the game, made all his free throws because that's what Tavion Banks does. 6 points in the game. The 10 rebounds, though, don't even come close to telling the story. You talk about a guy that left it all on the floor. That was Tavion Banks on both ends of the floor. He was battling. He was absolutely incredible for the Hawkeyes when they needed every single guy to do something. Speaking of that, we also have to talk about Cam and what he was able to do. Manyao, he was able to go out in a game where he scored 2 points, made both of his free throws, had 4 rebounds, and you say, yeah, so? This guy, what he was doing, battling, getting Iowa a couple of extra possessions late in that basketball game with the hustle plays that he made, he absolutely deserves a star by his name. Fulgaris pretty good off the bench, hit that big 3-pointer on the behind-the-back pass from Bennett Stirtz. Liked what we saw. Very active from Alvaro Fulgaris. That's another component that you're going to need. And when you look at the plus-minus number, and I know some people in basketball circles, they don't like the plus-minus. It doesn't tell the whole story of guys. How about this, though? The leader in this basketball game, plus-minus, was Isaiah Howard. He was just 1 of 5 from the floor. Hit a top of the 3 key. That was it. Offensively out of him, and in fact, missed the only free throw miss that Iowa had in a 1-and-1 late in that basketball game. They were plus 15, though, when he was on the floor. I thought Tate Sage did some good things as well. Had a 3-pointer rattle out. Another guy that's not scared of the moment. And as we continue to see Kael Combs just struggling mightily, absolutely struggling in the game in all realms. Defensively, still a good defender, but not the elite defender that we saw at different components earlier this season out of him. And he's just lost on the offensive end. How many times that he's dribbled into the corner, dribbled into double teams, gets into the paint and doesn't do anything. That is something that needs to change. And if it doesn't, Kael Combs' minutes need to go down. And we need to see more Isaiah Howard. We need to see more Tate Sage because at this point, he just looks so lost on the floor. That's a big negative out of this squad. They go 8 deep in this one. No, the numbers not pretty. We're going to dive into the box score a little bit more. There are some absolutely incredible numbers that came out of this basketball game as we come to you here on a live edition, Instant Reaction, Locked On Hawkeyes. Stay right there as we continue. We're back with more in a moment. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. The flights, the tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking on the board and think, you got a team that you like, now is the time to lock it in. I'm a Timberwolves fan, would love to see the T-Wolves make a move, and you can get a pretty good price on them at FanDuel to make an NBA Finals, to win the Western Conference, or heck, even win it all. Maybe you're going with the favorite OKC, whatever it is, lock it in right now. Find that team that you like and give yourself a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's episode is also brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking with you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. If you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of Locked On Hawkeyes, you're going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support Locked On Hawkeyes by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Trent Condon back with you once again here on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast, your daily Iowa Hawkeye podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you listen over on the audio side, 5-star reviews, all that helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. Diving back into this one, Iowa winner over Nebraska, 57-52, as they get the win here in an ugly, physical, tense basketball game. Now, if you listen to the program and you're one of our everyday listeners, you certainly know when I talk about Iowa basketball, it is different for me. This is my favorite team. This is my favorite sport. This is what made me a sport fan. I grew up, neither of my parents were huge sport fans. In fact, my mom, bigger sport fan than my dad. It was me that wanted to watch sports. And back in the 80s, when Thursday night came around and it was Iowa basketball, it was the biggest thing for me. And still here today, as I'm putting my kids to bed, and then I hit pause, then I come back to the game, and I'm still yelling and swearing and hollering at the TV and calling the Nebraska players' names. I have a more visceral reaction to Iowa men's basketball than anything else, sports-wise, certainly in my life. It takes me to another level. And there were moments in this game, and just going through and seeing some of the flopping that was happening on the other end, as Jamar Lawrence, that dude, he was looking for an Academy Award, flopping all over the place, just driving you nuts. You got the, obviously, component with Price Sanford coming back after playing 2 years, what Peyton did in a Hawkeye uniform, the cuts to his family, and seeing them dress head to toe in the red. That was sickening to see. There was so much of it that, again, took it to that level. And the intensity that this game was played with. You know, we talk about Nebraska, and I thought one thing Ben McCollum brought up that was really interesting is talking about what they threw at Iowa defensively and what Nebraska was doing on that end of the floor and why the Iowa offense looked so ugly at times. He said, look, Ben McCollum knows basketball as well as anybody. There's a reason that we hear him talked about in high esteem, not just in the college basketball community, the basketball community as a whole. And what he does, how smart he is, how he knows the X's and O's. This is an elite level coach. And he talked about, they did things that he's never seen before on the defensive end of the floor. And he said it's very difficult to prepare for. And because of the quick turnaround, and they didn't have as much time on the floor, didn't have really the same kind of scout that they normally have for different teams. I think that made it even more difficult. So you do have to give credit for Nebraska, even if Lawrence drove me absolutely nuts in this basketball game. Back to the box score. So Iowa holds Nebraska to 52 points. That is a season low for them this season. They also give up just 2 offensive rebounds in this game. And in general, 2 offensive rebounds doesn't say a lot. They were 5 of 24 from 3. That means some long rebounds. I was able to track those down. Also, they were 18 of 44 from the floor. That is a ton of missed shots, and they only got 2 offensive rebounds. Held them to 0.89 points per possession. That is an elite level defensive performance from this Iowa team. We talked about earlier what they did, really covering up Samford, and all the credit definitely goes to Bennett Stirtz and what he was able to do on that end of the floor. For Iowa the other way, and again, some of these head-scratching numbers. There was a post up from ESPN on SportsCenter, I believe, earlier this evening. Let's see if I can find it here as I have it in my notes. Here it is. Shooting 33% or worse in a game for an unranked team against a top 10 opponent, as Nebraska was. Teams entering tonight were 2 and 245 since 2020-21 season. 2 and 245. I mean, that's a Kirk Ferentz number if you've ever heard it, right? When you're talking about historic benchmarks that you're hitting. And Hawkeye fans, we're not going to give this one back. Iowa, in fact, beat them in points per possession. Iowa finished with a 0.98 points per possession. Still not great by any means, but better than what Nebraska did on their end of the floor. Iowa, how about this too? They were 6 of 13 in layups. And without a traditional rim protector, that still is a little bit scary. 6 of 13 in that one. Had 12 offensive rebounds, 8 second chance points, did a little bit of everything on that component. And after all the turnovers that we saw in the first half from Iowa, when Iowa turned it over in the first half 9 times, second half much better. Just 3 turnovers overall in the second half for the Hawkeyes. Another one that's kind of just crazy to think about. Iowa only made 17 shots in the game from the floor. 17. 6 of them from behind the arc as they go 6 of 23. Of those 17 makes, though, they only had 5 assists. 5 assists in the game, 2 from Stirtz, 1 from Maniau, 1 from Combs, 1 from Fulgaris, and 2 from Howard. That's it. 5 assists in a game, an absolute eye-opener there. Still, you add it all up, it's a Hawkeye victory, and this is the kind of win this program desperately needed. We've talked about the resume as you go through Bracket Matrix. That is a website that takes all the bracketologists out there. From the ones you know, the Joe Lenardis of the world, Dave Oman, who joins me on my radio show, all the different ones out there, too. Some of the lesser known. Over 100 bracketologists that are on there, and it just averages it all up. It takes away some of the crazy ones that you see, and you get excited or go the other way and start freaking out. And it just shows you probably the most realistic path and what it's going to look like. And for most everybody, Iowa was sitting on that 8-9 game. And if you're an old guy like me, like I know a lot of you guys out there, you remember back in the 90s, Dr. Tom, good enough to make the tournament, good enough to win a game in the NCAA tournament, and then you run into Duke in back-to-back seasons. You run into Kentucky in the round of 32. Here recently with Fran, what did we see? Good enough to win a game, but you get to the tournament in that second round, and you're facing off against a team that is just decidedly better. Still the best path for Iowa, and the most realistic is to get up to a 6 seed, but it's going to take a lot even to do that, jumping in front of some teams. So we're going to talk about the resume a little bit more, but the good vibes that we saw, and to see the students rush the floor, the volume of students also that were there to rush the floor, that was great to see. You know, we saw the empty seats that were there. We knew that it wasn't going to be a packed building like it was Saturday against Purdue. It was going to look a lot different. And because of that, getting those positive vibes going once again was incredibly important to get that kind of victory, and good for the fan base. Ben McCollum mentioned it a couple of different times, both talking to Dolph after the game and then in the press conferences. He said, this is what it can be. This is how special it can be in Iowa City. And we know that. I mean, you look over my shoulder and you see my favorite poster with Roy, Marble, BJ Armstrong, Ed Horton. That's, as we go back to what I mentioned earlier, that's what made me love Iowa basketball, is those guys, what they meant, their importance to things, and what made me the fan that I am today. And getting those kind of positivity back. Iowa basketball hit a wall. And Fran McCaffery deserves a lot of credit for pulling Iowa out of the disaster that was Todd Licklider. Steve Alford was such an unlikable figure just as a person in general, coupled with also some of the off-the-floor things, and Pierce being at the forefront of that. This is still a basketball program that needs maturing, needs just a little bit more help to get over the hump. These are the kind of nights that are special. These are the kind of nights that are incredibly important for Iowa fans to buy back in, get back into this, and make it appointment viewing. Make it important when Ohio State comes to town next week, and get to the building and fill that thing up. Feel like you have a chance when Michigan comes to town on what will be senior night coming up here in a couple of weeks. These are the positive vibes that continue here, and it definitely helped the resume in a big time way. A couple other numbers for you also that came out from this game that jumped out. Bennett Stirtz, what he's done his last 5 games now, nearly 27 points per game, 3.2 assists, a steal, a block. How about his defense and those block shots and back-to-back possessions and just 1.5 turnovers per game? He is playing at a super, super high level. All right, we continue here, Locked On Hawkeyes. So what does it all mean? Condon, you talk about quad 1 victories. What did this actually do for the resume? That's coming up next as we continue on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. It was a heavyweight showdown between number 3 South Carolina and number 7 LSU, and the Gamecocks rose to the occasion. South Carolina secured a hard-fought 79-72 victory to stay atop the SEC standings, using a balanced offensive attack to outlast the Tigers. Tessa Johnson led the way with 21 points, while Raven Johnson added 19. Medina Okot dominated the paint with a double-double, finishing with 12 points and 17 rebounds, while Joyce Edwards chipped in 10 points to round out the scoring. With the statement win, the Gamecocks now turn their attention to a road matchup at number 23 Alabama on Thursday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Trent Condon back with you one final time here. Instant reaction after Iowa gets the win 57-52 over the Huskers. You can get Locked On Hawkeyes ad-free now with our Everydayer Club. Plus members-only Discord access. You can join us at lockedonhawkeyes.supercast.com, and you can support what we do on a daily basis here and do it ad-free for you. Wrapping things up, and a couple of things overall. What this win meant. It is their 3rd quad 1 victory of the season. The other 2, the aforementioned games against Indiana and Washington. The Indiana one rates better. They're 34th currently in the net, 52nd for Washington. Neither of those teams are going to fall out of a quad 1 victory. Road victories, teams against the top 75, that is considered. But this one is different. Nebraska came in 11th in the net for that. That is one of those resume builders, because it's not just the sheer volume of quad 1 victories. It's not just what you do against a certain group of teams. It is also the quantity plus the quality that is in there. And this is definitely a quality one against the Huskers. Overall, the resume Iowa sits at 8-6 against quad 1 and quad 2 combined, and a lot more opportunities coming in front of them, really outside of that Penn State game. I believe most of the games going forward now will be quad 1 games the rest of the way. And as he continue to stack up maybe a couple more victories outside of that Penn State game, definitely going to be a help and an opportunity for this Iowa team. We also look at what they jumped up. So Iowa came into today 27th in the country in the advanced analytics. Ken Pom, Bart Torvik, those 2 analytical websites had the Hawkeyes 27th. And both of them, they jumped up 3 spots after this victory, up to 24th in the country. That is what it does to the resume, puts them in great shape. And when you talk about defensive numbers, this was Iowa's best defensive performance since all the way back before Christmas. Last time they had a defensive performance like this was in Des Moines when they beat Bucknell 94-39. That's what they did on that side. And it's not just the game alone. These analytics also, the team that you're playing, what their offensive skill set is, that shows you how good this team has been. Iowa, in fact, hadn't been inside of 100, which is considered average since going back to the Rutgers game. That shows you how far this Hawkeye defense had fallen and how much it improved here against Nebraska. This is big for the resume. This is definitely a big help for this squad, but they're not done yet. And they still need to continue to stack up victories. If Iowa can just win 2 more games, I think they're a lock for staying out of Dayton and being an NCAA tournament team. You win 2 games, likely the 2 most likely against Ohio State next week at home and the road tilt against Penn State. They're going to be solidly, I believe, in the NCAA tournament. But you lose one of those games, you can't find a way this weekend to go to Wisconsin, pull off the upset against the Badgers, though the analytic sites consider that a toss-up game. Iowa 1-point underdog. Michigan, the home finale on Thursday, March 5th. They are an 8-point underdog on that one. And then the return trip to Nebraska, they're a 6-point dog there. If Iowa, though, slips up in one of those 2 games against the Buckeyes or the Nittany Lions, then we're getting back into a little concerning times in the Big Ten tournament that goes along with it. There is such a deep swath of teams here in the middle. After you get through that top tier in the Big Ten, obviously Michigan, what they've been able to do and their performance that they had tonight in the road in Purdue, just absolutely eye-opening. Purdue, Illinois, Michigan, Michigan State. You could throw Nebraska in that mix too, and maybe Wisconsin, but that next tier of teams, the teams that have 6 or more losses in the Big Ten, it is Iowa, Ohio State, and UCLA. They're all 9-6 now on the season. Indiana, a game behind that at 8-7. Then you got USC at 7-7. That group of teams jockeying to be in the top 8. In the top 8 means you get the bye. You only have to win, 4 games to win a Big Ten tournament. Still, even getting to the 8th seed, what looks pretty likely, an 8-9 for Iowa in the Big Ten tournament. That means Michigan's going to be waiting for you in the next round, and that is a scary proposition of what we've seen out of this Wolverine team. Hey, it was a great night to be a Hawkeye, a great night for the resume, a great night for Ben McCollum. You could see the excitement that he had, the words that he was using in the huddle as the crowd rushed the floor. It was great to see. After the negativity of this last week, the frustrations that you could tell were there for Ben McCollum, and even as he joked in the post-game press conference that they said offensive basketball back 30 years with that performance, this one feels different than the Licklider 42-37 special against Michigan State. Though it was ugly, it was still so many good things that come out of it. Let's take these positive vibes. Let's go to Madison and let's get a victory. Thanks for being with us on your daily Iowa Hawkeye podcast. Locked On Hawkeyes with you each and every day is where you can find us on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're there. You can also find us on social media, on Twitter at Locked On Iowa. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're all over the place, and you can find us there as well. And of course, on YouTube, hit subscribe right now if you're watching there, or on the audio side, all those 5-star reviews. If you never miss an episode of Locked On Hawkeyes, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Hawkeyes ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Just go to lockedonhawkeyes.supercast.com, see if it makes sense for you, and see exactly what it is. As we wrap things up, let's get a few comments in here, see what the people have to say. Starting with Andy, he says, great win. Yes, it was. Jared, great win. Was fun to be there. I was jealous. Wish I was there, but kids' activities get in the way. That's going to happen. The lack of movement on offense is criminal. Yeah. Boy, late in the game. That's a really good point, Jared. The hesitation to shoot, need to be better on that front. Just never got in the lane. In the final, 10 minutes of the game, it felt like just settling, running clock, and just not getting very good shots at the end. That was frustrating. From Win Time Sports, I just want to say thank you to the beautiful city of Iowa City and the beautiful state of Iowa. I love this team. The home crowd was incredible. Absolutely, it was. VS, Bigot, okay. Did you see that the Nebraska coach, well, that'd be Fred Hoiberg, swung at a fan and hit an assistant coach? I saw there's rumblings out there. I'm still waiting to see if that's actually true. Seems like a stretch. We'll see. This comes from Cash. As a third-year student, seeing everyone having so much excitement and, of course, storming the court for the first time in my schooling at Iowa, an awesome game. I love that, too, for you guys. I remember rushing the floor when Iowa beat Kansas at Carver Hawkeye way back almost 30 years ago. Yeah, it was a different time, and I'm an old man, but absolutely. Those experiences, I've never been the old man, get off my yard kind of guy. I love rushing the field. I love rushing the court. It is a great experience, and as long as you can do it without disrupting the other team. Never have a problem with that. VMS says there are several videos on Instagram. Well, I'm going to check that out. In fact, maybe I'm going to have a cold one here. Let's have a celebration one and wrap things up here today. As always, thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We will be back with you tomorrow, setting the scene for the weekend. How about Iowa baseball? I understand it was a D3 team. Still 34 runs put up there. Get ready for the weekend for Iowa baseball, Iowa softball. The women's team back in action as well after their victory against Nebraska earlier this week. Once again, as Mark Gronowski said on Twitter after the game, Iowa still owns Nebraska. Oh boy, that feels good. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, go Hawks.